Here's my review of John Candy, I Like Me. I thought that this was a very well made documentary. And the reason that I was interested in checking this documentary movie out is, first of all, I think John Candy is great. I think that he's hilarious. And I was just fascinated. Like, I love him in his movies, and I've never really known much about him. So I thought this would be an interesting documentary to check out, and it was really good. A lot of this movie is like whether it's his wife or his daughters and kids, like talking about how great he was, and as well as kind of exploring his rise to fame, and also as talking about a lot of his people who he has worked with, whether it be Dan Aykroyd or Steve Martin, kind of talking about like how much of a genuine and great guy he was, as well as maybe his personal struggles. And in terms of like why I've always found it difficult to talk about documentaries is a lot of it is you're gonna be saying a lot of the same things. Like yes, this like it's these sit down interviews with like people like Steve Martin from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, great movie, where he was with John Candy and just talked about how great he was. There's a lot of this in here, and because of that, like this review is probably going to be pretty short, but also very repetitive at the same time because there's not much to say about it. That because when you're talking about a documentary, it's more just kind of you're not really reviewing the story as it's just the true story, but rather the technical filmmaking of it, which was very good. But I will say that I don't know if like for a documentary biopic it needed to be as long as it was, but I think that it still worked because when you have all of these other people who are close friends of him, I think it's able to keep your attention. And when you're talking about someone like John Candy, who's just such a fascinating actor, it works. Although I do think it could have been a little shorter. You got a lot of big names in here talking about it, whether it's Bill Murray, Tom Hanks, um, and I think Bill Murray, he would. You can see how genuinely choked up he was just talking about him, and that part was just beautiful. As well as Macaulay Culkin talking about him working with him in Uncle Buck, and Uncle Buck is great. That is a great movie, and how Macaulay Culkin said how he almost viewed John Candy as a father figure to him because Macaulay's dad, he did had the very not so great relationship with him as he started getting so famous at such a young age. Almost his dad almost using him, and how John Candy almost was that father figure that he needed, which that was just beautiful. And you see a lot of these actors talk about like how great he was with kids, how he was always able to not always like always not just make people laugh, but just make people feel so comfortable. And I think that's just a testament of just how great he was as an actor and as a person. And they show like in of course like the title of this John Candy I Like Me, of course referencing the line from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where Steve Martin's character is just really like bullying John Candy's character and saying how everything he can't stand about him, and why John Candy sees her like it doesn't matter if you don't like me, I do. And it's all done in such a powerful and poetic way. It's beautiful. And like many documentaries of people who tragically pass away so young, there is a big part of this documentary talking about how, yes, he was severely overweight and how people were trying to help him, but he didn't really care. And a lot of people, if he did lose weight, he wouldn't be the funny fat guy anymore. And whether he went to a doctor, he just wouldn't listen. And a lot of it was what made it so sad is like almost his own doing, and it just kind of almost oblivious to how bad it really was, which just made it very tragic to watch. But yeah, that's about as much as I have to say because, like I said, when it comes to documentaries, you're kind of just reviewing the technical filmmaking as it's not really a story because it's the true story, and it's individual segments of people talking rather than a cohesive narrative like a biopic movie. But that being said, I think that this was a very great documentary. I think that if you like John Candy at all, definitely check this film out. It was very well made. Believe this was directed by Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' son, and he did a great job in this directing this movie. I don't know how what other movies, documentaries he's made, but he did a great job doing this one. And yeah, if you're at all a fan of John Candy, definitely check this film out. It's very good.